Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brian and Dylan Take on the World. Before the episode starts, I just wanted to direct you to Level Up Lore on YouTube. You remember them from the podcast we did just the other day. I am on a post-episode discussion called S'mores Talk regarding their newest episodes of Halo 5. It's titled Halo, Patsies, Gaming Fashion, and More. S'mores Talk, Episode 3. I had a lot of fun talking to the Level Up Lore team about their newest episode and future episodes, as well as all kinds of random stuff. Check it out. Without further ado, here is the show.
Hey guys, welcome back. Brian, good to talk to you again, man.
Hey man, good to talk to you.
It's been a week. This has been the longest time we've gone in between recordings because normally this is supposed to be a weekly show and our first recording was on like a Thursday, and then I believe we recorded like the following Monday after that, and then we recorded another episode after that. So nice to talk to you for the first time in a week.
Yeah, I mean, other than texting, yeah, we haven't had the chance. We got to get you on some streams and stuff so we can hang out more virtually.
100%. Yeah, I gotta go on like a Fortnite stream and make a complete fool of myself.
Well, hopefully you can teach me some stuff because I'm not good at that game at all.
Although I may have to jump on one of those Sims streams, man. Those seems to be the money makers. People are tuning into the Sims.
People love the Sims, and Jenny's really knowledgeable about the Sims and like streaming it. So, anytime she wants to do it, I'm like, hell yeah, go for it.
So my problem with the Sims, though, if I join her, I'm gonna ask her to like start torturing the Sims. My big thing was I used to put them all inside a house, and I put like 4 or 5 stoves and grills around the house.
Okay.
And then I would remove all the windows and the doors and pretty much just see like who's the last one to survive.
Oh no! Yeah, I think a lot of us did stuff like that.
I was
back in the day.
I was a tormented child. I'd put like a pool in the center of the room too, and then like someone would jump in and remove the ladder. Like I would just start placing bets with like my cats of who would live the longest. So yeah, I had a rough childhood. I have a lot of demons, but
man.
I saved this for my therapist, not for this podcast.
Oh man! All right, so let's just get into it. What do you want to tackle first?
So first off, it is Monday, March 19th. My bracket is officially done after the first weekend.
Yeah, mine too. It hasn't been good.
To talk a little sports on you real quick, Arizona and Virginia losing didn't help me out a lot. For some reason, I had Oklahoma going all the way to the Elite Eight like an idiot. I still have Villanova winning the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure I am last in a group of like 22. So that money will not be coming to me. For some reason, I'm the money holder as well. So not smart by a lot of people because I may be taking that $100 and hightailing it out of here.
I mean, I don't have to worry about it because I definitely am not going to win either. So not my potential money.
So, quick bracket talk for you. I know everyone hates when douchebags talk about their brackets, but I had to bring it up quickly. Yep. So, Brian, we had a new Avengers Infinity War trailer come out.
Oh my God, yes, we did.
And man, this trailer is tits.
I could not be more hyped.
We get to see Gamora talking in the beginning. She's talking about Thanos, who obviously had a more direct relationship with Thanos than really anybody else did.
Yep.
We finally got to see. So I'm assuming with this that there's basically going to be 3 separate stories going on in this movie, and they're eventually all going to come together in the end. Like we'll have Captain and Black Panther and Winter Soldier all in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Because it looks like we're going to have a fight there. We're going to have Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and it looks like the Hulk all in New York. And then we're going to have Thor and the Guardians off in space.
Right. I think that's a safe assumption.
So I like that. I like that a lot.
I do too, and it looks like the Guardians are probably going to help Thor reforge his hammer. Yep. Just from kind of what I'm seeing in the trailer with all that machinery, and I think it was Groot looking like, whoa, what's happening?
Groot and Rocket Raccoon, that's cool to see them together. Yeah, I'm because this is a lot of characters to have in one movie, so I like that whole strategy to just have 3 separate storylines. That's gonna be fun. So they're all gonna come together in the end because we got a very, very cool scene of Star-Lord being Star-Lord with Iron Man. That was a cool little mashup in the end where he's telling him that his plan sucks, so we should do my plan now.
I saw a hilarious thread on Reddit where it's like who would win in like a shit talking competition, Star-Lord, Tony Stark, or Jessica Jones. And now I'm just mad that the Defenders are not in this. Like, you think the Defenders aren't going to help out?
Surprising, especially since they're in New York. You see that they're clearly in New York. Like if I'm Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, I'm probably not sitting aside if there's shit going down in downtown Manhattan. I'm not just staying in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, Luke is unbreakable, for one.
Yeah, so I hope they utilize him in the end because clearly they're in the same universe. It's not like there's a separate TV universe like there is that bullshit DC thing going on. But yeah, I don't know. I really thought we'd eventually get them in the Avengers movie. Maybe we'll eventually. I'm pretty sure that Infinity War, I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's technically going to be like two parts, like a two-part movie. I don't think this one's called like part one. It's obviously just called Infinity War, but I think there's this Infinity War, and then I believe there's going to be another one. I could be wrong. Maybe they combine the two. I have no idea.
No, I do think, I don't know. At least at one point it was part 2, but I think they're going to name it Avengers something else, but it will be the second part of the movie. And I believe they filmed them at the same time, so it'll be like this summer and then next summer.
I got you. Yeah, okay. So one of my long-standing theories with this, and this trailer definitely helps further this, is that this will be Captain America's final movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a part in the trailer that seems to be pretty dire for Cap.
I mean, Captain America's pretty strong. I can't imagine him winning in a hand-to-hand combat with Thanos, especially when it looks like Thanos already has like 1 or 2 Infinity Stones.
Yeah, I mean, Cap is strong, but he's not that strong. Like, if it was Spider-Man catching a punch, I could buy it more than Cap, honestly.
How so? I strongly disagree with that.
Really? I think Spider-Man is shown in, like, the movies he's been in so far that he has, like, you know, some superhuman strength. Like, he caught Bucky's punch really easily in Civil War.
He did lift the building off himself in Homecoming. Yeah. That's true. And he's in the iron suit this time. Iron Spider.
Right. Which looks dope.
It does. We also have the Hulkbuster suit. So this, to touch back on the Captain America, he's fighting Thanos. But even coming in before I've seen trailers for this movie, I really thought that this was going to be the end of Captain America, because we also have 2 other people who take on the Captain America role in the comic books with Bucky and Sam Wilson, Falcon. So
is Falcon in any of these trailers? Now that I think about it, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he's in the first one. He's in Wakanda with Cap, because in the first one you see him flying with Iron Patriot next to him.
Okay, yep.
So yeah, the whole gang's here. Funny enough, in the new poster though, he's in it, and the internet kind of went on a little funny tangent because Hawkeye isn't in it.
Yeah, the internet's not super excited.
So someone replaced everyone in that poster with Hawkeye. So now there's like 15 Hawkeyes in the poster. So no, I'm excited, man. We have about a month to go until this movie comes out. I guess this shattered pre-sale ticket records because they went on sale when the trailer dropped.
Right.
And I guess this was one of the biggest pre-sales for movies in a long time. I'm assuming other than probably like Force Awakens and Black Panther. Yep. So very exciting. I honestly can't wait to see that movie. We're gonna do a review like the next day after, so it's gonna be totally relevant, totally fresh in our minds.
Right.
I really can't wait. This is probably the most excited I've been for a movie, other than Black Panther, probably since Force Awakens. Like, it's just, I can't wait for this movie. It's gonna be balls out, man. It's gonna be so good.
I know. It's like I always think I'm gonna get tired of the Avengers universe. But then they just keep topping themselves with every movie.
It's one of the more well done series, because they've had like 14 movies. It's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Plus 4 TV shows, 5, 6 TV shows. Who even knows now?
And the fact that they've managed to keep this together, and really all their movies are good. There really hasn't been a bad movie. I think their lowest rated movie is the Incredible Hulk movie, which was not a bad movie at all.
No, and it's, you know, it's kind of like a weird time because it was like Universal making it, and they hadn't really found their footing yet.
I think it's also a little bit different too, because it's the same universe, but we had a different guy playing the Hulk.
Yeah, so. I mean, I was actually really sad about that initially because I love Edward Norton, but Mark Ruffalo does a great job.
He has been doing a great job, especially after Thor Ragnarok. he's perfect for that role, in my opinion.
And similar thing with Spider-Man. Like, I liked Andrew Garfield a lot as Spider-Man, and I was like, man, who's this kid? How's he gonna do? And then it's like, oh no, he kills it. He kills it harder than like anyone has ever played the role.
And I'm one of the people that really enjoyed the Tobey Maguire series as well. I think Spider-Man 2 is arguably like the third best superhero movie ever. Right. But Tom Holland like really kills it as Peter Parker. He really he gives that feel of like the old, like the animated TV show, like that kind of Spider-Man. He's like, throw Peter Parker into that shit talking, because something about Spider-Man's like a big shit talker. Speaking of shit talking, say we have, let's pick all these four. You have Spider-Man. You have, who was the other one? We have Spider-Man. We have Star-Lord. I'm gonna throw Tony Stark, Jessica Jones. I'm gonna throw Deadpool into this as well
because he can cross over. Because things don't matter to Deadpool.
Obviously, Deadpool wins that in my opinion. But don't hold out on Spider-Man, dude. Especially in the comic book, Spider-Man is a big shit talker. One of the graphic novels I have been waiting to read is a crossover of Deadpool and Spider-Man together. So I think we may have to read that and review that, because that's two of the...
Yeah, no, I'm definitely down for that. I think like Jessica Jones is the type of person who, like, everyone else is doing it in kind of a fun way, but then she says something kind of fucked up and true. Like, ruins the mood.
Yep. It's just, I don't know, just Marvel's just, they're doing it right, man. They're doing everything right that DC did wrong. So...
And speaking of Jessica Jones, I've watched like 5 episodes of the new season. Real good.
Oh,
I've been loving it.
I'm still notorious that I'm like halfway through Daredevil season 2, and I have been for the past like 2 years. So I'm a little behind on the Marvel TV shows, but I'll be caught up. I'll be caught up eventually.
They're definitely worth it, especially in between movies.
Yeah.
Like the big tentpole movies. Like, I just want a little bit of a Marvel fix and a little bit of like a more gritty feel.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Eventually it's gonna be one of those things where I'll watch like all of them.
Just binge them in like a weekend.
So, Brian, let's move on to our next story, and kind of like another slow week, but this is pretty relevant. Apparently, according to Amazon Post, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered is coming out April 30th, unconfirmed.
Yeah, super unconfirmed. You'd think we'd know about this, but according to the Italian version of Amazon, there's a listing for COD Modern Warfare 2 Remastered for the PS4 and Xbox One, slated to come out on April 30th. So what are your thoughts on this? 1, do you think it's real? And 2, let's pretend it is real. How pumped are you for it?
So do I think it's real? I don't know, because I feel like shit like this happens all the time.
Right.
So it's really tough to weed out what's real and what's fake, but it's usually not, things like this aren't confirmed towards when they're closer anyway. Although the only reason why I'm not sure if this is real is because usually when things like this happen, they're pretty quick to come out and confirm something if it's real. If they're already like, shit, cat's out of the bag, let's just do it now and get the buzz really going. So I really don't know. I hope so, saying it is real. I like this a lot. I like that clearly they're gonna, if they release it April 30th, it's not gonna be with Black Ops 4.
Right. Yeah, so it's going to be before it.
If this is solo by itself, dude, fucking count me in, because the Modern Warfare 1 Remastered was awesome. I eventually had to suck it up and literally just bought was it
Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare.
Yeah.
Just
is an apt name for the Call of Duty series.
I didn't even play Infinite Warfare, to be honest with you. I saw that Jon Snow, Kit Harington was in it. He played the bad guy, but I don't know. I really didn't like tickle my fancy. Like, it's one of those things that I have. Maybe if I'm just out of games to play, maybe I'll give the story mode a try.
Yeah, the story's like 6 hours. It's decent for a Call of Duty campaign.
Yeah, most Call of Duty campaigns you can get through like the first day you get it. I remember back in high school, actually speaking of when Modern Warfare 2 came out, I stayed home from school that day and beat the campaign like by like 5 by dinner time.
Right.
I was already eating my mac and cheese by the time I was done the campaign. So if it comes out April 30th, dude, count me in. I'm gonna buy. You know they're gonna make this like $60. You know they're gonna be assholes about it. I'm still probably gonna buy it anyway. If they drop it for like 40, good on them. Because I think that Call of Duty, the franchise, really needs something to get fans back on their side. Especially now that we have Battlefield 5 coming out this fall in World War II, which is going to be the World War II game we want, not Call of Duty World War II. I really think that Call of Duty needs to do something to keep the buzz going, keep them relevant. I think it's dropping this in April, when really April's kind of like a slow time for games. We have Far Cry coming out this spring, but other than that, there's not games coming out to the summer and fall. So I think that'd be a really smart move by them. And I honestly I'd probably buy it like the day it came out.
Yeah.
Just because Modern Warfare 2 is one of my all-time favorite games. The campaign is great. The online was great at the time. So
yeah, I mean, so it says it's going to be 19.99 euros, which is about $25 US. If this is to be believed, who knows? This might not even be real. But if it is, I'm going to be streaming a lot of this game.
So the only reason I have a tough time believing this is real is because the game coming out this year is a Treyarch game, Black Ops 4, and Infinity War are the ones that created the Modern Warfare series.
Right.
So I don't really see Treyarch releasing an Infinity War game by itself. That's to say, though, if they're not releasing together, that's totally separate. Because I think for sure we're getting Modern Warfare 2 remastered, like no matter what.
Eventually, yeah.
I don't think that's fully confirmed, but it's been talked about for a long time that with the success of the Modern Warfare that they're going to do Modern Warfare 2, because that's I wouldn't say unanimous, but it's pretty well recognized that Modern Warfare 2 was probably the best game in the Call of Duty series.
Also, I believe it is the best selling. Let me look up. I know it sold 20 million copies as of 2010.
It really banked off the success of World at War, which was the year before, which was also like probably my second favorite Call of Duty game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it sold $550 million worth of copies in the first 5 days when it came out. Modern Warfare 3 may have sold more. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Modern Warfare 3 sold 30.71. That was way off. So and then it's Black Ops 1, 30.4. So forget I said that. Anyways, it was a very successful game, a very beloved game.
At the time, it was the best-selling game.
Right,
so you
right.
were like semi-wrong. No, it just I want this to be true. Like I said, I really think it's going to come out, but I find it really, really hard that they're not going to try to fuck us and release it with a game that's $80 and you have to buy. Mm-hmm. And I guess on the Italian Amazon site, it was $19.99 in euros. Is that what Italy goes by as euros? Yep. I'm pretty sure they go by euros still. And that translates over to about $25 US, which is very, very cheap. And usually they try to milk that for everything they can because it's Activision. So I don't know. There's a lot of gaps in this that is not a trend that Activision usually follows. I really can't imagine them dropping a game like this solo for $25. Like I would be shocked if this isn't at least 40.
Right. And I think it's especially interesting to people like us just because of our age. Like we were in high school during the golden age of Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. Like we really got to experience the highs of that franchise. Like
last week when we talked about our top 5 favorite video games from our childhood, nostalgia is the big thing that keeps coming up. Like nostalgia is what's going to make me buy this game. I already know it's going to happen in the campaign. The online's not going to be as good as a lot of the current games coming out like Battlefield or things like that. I'm still going to get it anyway for nostalgia because it's just cool to be able to fire that up and to be doing like the no Russian mission.
Yes.
So
for those of you who don't know, just wait.
For you pansies that opted out of doing that mission in the game, you missed out on like shooting up an airport, which is no bueno, but it's very key to the story.
It's an important part. It sets up the whole story.
Yes, they're fake people, so please don't go shoot up a real airport.
Yeah, we are
what Trump is trying to push
mass shooting podcast.
If you shoot up an airport in a video game, you're apparently like 100% going to shoot up an airport in real life, according to like the Justice Departments or whoever's running the new research into video game violence, whatever. I don't even really fully know what I'm talking about. This isn't a political podcast. Moving on.
Fortnite.
Our final story. Drake, Ninja, Travis Scott jumped on a little Fortnite stream together, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible for the platform and for adding legitimacy not only to video games but to streaming as a whole. What was the total number of viewers they had at one time? At one point, they had over 600,000 concurrent viewers.
That's just fucking crazy.
That's like cable TV numbers.
Yeah, there's shows on like ABC that have less viewers than what that had.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's really, like you said, that's kind of groundbreaking for the stream, because now you're going to have celebrities like Drake start jumping on these things. One, to promote themselves, and two, it's probably just a fun time to play with somebody like Ninja, who's just sick at this game.
Yeah, I mean, Ninja is pretty incredible. Cards on the table. I didn't really know anything about Ninja until he reached the 100,000 followers, and we did that video about it. But I've looked into him a lot, and it's seeming that people generally consider him as just a good guy and a positive person to be like the face of streaming and video games right now.
Yeah, like the back and forth him and Drake had, just kind of talking about like themselves, and Drake was kind of like talking about the behind the scenes of recording in studios and stuff like that. It was just cool. And Drake seems like a cool, normal dude for somebody being like one of the biggest stars on the planet right now.
I know, right? He seems pretty grounded.
And they're probably jumping on with Ninja too. You're gonna pad your stats a little bit, because Ninja's gonna get you at least 4 or 5 squad by himself.
Yeah, and so it was Drake, and then Kim.com showed up for a little bit. He of Mega Upload fame. So like the mid 2000s, that's how we were all watching TV shows.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And then Travis Scott jumped on. And Juju Smith-Schuster from the Steelers. I think Dylan and I can both say fuck the Steelers, but we like Juju Smith-Schuster. He seems like a fun guy.
Whatever. No, it was cool too. Travis Scott was all for going into Tilted Towers, so anybody who's all for jumping at Tilted Towers is a fucking psychopath. So clearly Travis Scott has some issues, but no, it was.
He needs to work it out.
It was really fun to watch it, and especially at what point did they jump on at like 1 a.m. Eastern time too?
It was super late. I didn't know about it. I would have watched, but I had no idea. I was asleep.
The fact that they had that many viewers, and I get it's all around the world, different times, but 1 a.m. Eastern time, that's a lot of people on the East Coast who were either sleeping or about to go to bed. I know I was sleeping.
Yes, and imagine if he did this in the middle of the day.
Jesus.
On like a Saturday.
If you did this on a Saturday at like 5 o'clock,
they could crack 1 million. I bet.
I think that the servers might crash, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Twitch's servers would catch on fire.
So those are our stories of the week. Another slow week, but it was awesome to see the Avengers trailer.
Slow week, but some cool news.
I'm so excited for that movie, dude.
Hype. So what are we talking about?
Today we are going to be covering another top five underappreciated movies. All right, welcome back. Top 5 most underappreciated films. Brian, this was kind of a confusing list for me at first.
Yeah, we didn't really define it. We were just like, yeah, underrated films. We'll do it. We got a show to do.
So first it was underrated films, and then we kind of went to underappreciated films. I'm going to stick with that. This is underappreciated because all my movies on this have an IMDb rating of 7 and above. My final movie actually has like an 8.6, so I don't think it's underrated. But the underappreciated factor is that these are really good movies that people either A, don't like, don't understand, or B, just have not seen.
Right. One of mine has a 6.5, but I truly believe it is a worthwhile movie to check out.
So I will be going by the IMDb scores. Brian, are you going by Rotten Tomatoes?
No, IMDb as well. I want to keep it consistent first.
All right, cool. So yeah, I guess when we do movies from now, we're gonna go by IMDb scores. It's more viewer related because I don't fully trust critic ratings.
Yeah, it's been some questionable stuff of late.
I think when we do our top 5s for movies and things like that, we're definitely gonna stick with IMDb. And then sometimes when we see movies fresh, in 2 weeks, we're gonna be seeing Ready Player One. I think we'll go by the Rotten Tomatoes score then, because that one kind of gives a little basis of what like the previewing notions of the movie was. But so I cheated a little bit again this week. I have a 5A and a 5B again.
Okay.
Just like the video game. So my apologies. But without further ado, Brian, I believe it's your turn to go first this week.
Okay, first off, number 5, I have the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven.
Okay.
So this came out in 2005, directed by Ridley Scott, and Orlando Bloom, Eva Green, Liam Neeson are the lead actors in it. Like I said, I've only ever seen the director's cut, which is 3 hours and 14 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Very long movie. Very good movie, though. I feel if you're into medieval stuff, you got to remember this was before like Game of Thrones, after Lord of the Rings, but it's not a fantasy. It tells the story of the Crusades as Balin in Ebelin traveled to Jerusalem during the Crusades of the 12th century, and there he finds himself as a defender of the city and its people.
I do remember seeing this movie. It is a very long movie.
There is a break in the middle of it.
I remember the action in this movie being good though. It's a realistic type of action.
Mm-hmm. It's bloody. It's like tough. There's a certain character that dies in the beginning, which is like hard to take. And I don't know, man. Like, I know the critics really didn't like it, but I think it's worth your time if you have an afternoon to just watch it all, you know?
Yep. So coming in at my 5A is 2007's Gone Baby Gone.
Oh, yep.
Have you seen
books.
This?
I've never seen the movie, but I love that.
Dennis Lehane.
Yeah, I love that series of books with those detectives.
The boss. Yep. It's like he writes all pretty much like Boston noir, essentially. 2007's Gone Baby Gone. 2 Boston area detectives investigate a little girl's kidnapping, which ultimately turns into a crisis both professionally and personally. Starring Casey, there's a shitload of people in this movie. Starring Casey Affleck, Michelle Monaghan, Morgan Freeman, Ed Harris, John Ashton, Amy Ryan, who was actually nominated for an Academy Award for this movie for Best Supporting Actress. Amy Madigan, you would actually know Amy Ryan from The Office. She's the one that ends up marrying Michael in the end. Titus Welliver, Michael Kenneth Williams. There's a lot of people in this movie.
There's so many people, and they're all good. And from what I've heard, the movie's great. The book is fantastic. The ending, you know, it is what it is. But leading up to it, it is a great story.
I should also mention this is Ben Affleck's directorial debut. He also co-wrote the screenplay based on the novel. I was a little surprised that Ben Affleck wasn't nominated for an Best Director for this movie. I think this is a very, very good movie. I remember the first time I saw it, especially being from the Boston area and being in and out of Boston. Yeah, it's really it's gritty. It's realistic per se. I've never been a private detective investigating a missing girl.
Really?
It's
surprising.
Not yet. I'm getting my certificate. It's realistic. It's gut wrenching. There's a twist you don't really see coming, and then you kind of see it coming, but then there's a few more twists. It's a noir-y movie, like I'm assuming like the book was. It's very good. It paints a picture of the lower class
of Boston.
Really. It's a very good movie, and I know a lot of people around here have seen it. I feel like maybe across the country, people not with Boston ties maybe have not seen it. But like I said, and I think Ben Affleck is a fantastic director.
Yes, and this definitely put him on the map.
100%.
As a director.
He has his brother in it. I think Casey Affleck's the better actor, obviously, but I think Ben Affleck's the better director. But fantastic movie. It's the 7.7 on IMDb. Maybe a little low, but 7.7 is still really good. I'd probably give it like an 8.2.
Right.
But that's my 5A. My 5B is 2013's The Spectacular Now.
Oh, how is obviously you like it. I haven't seen that.
It's very, very good. It's like kind of a depressing movie. Another thing, it's realistic. It stars Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, Brie Larson, Kyle Chandler, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Kyle Chandler obviously is Coach Taylor in Friday Night Lights.
Clear eyes, full hearts, man.
A hard partying high school senior's philosophy on life changes when he meets the not so typical nice girl. Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley are the boy and girl I mentioned in that. Miles Teller gives a really, really great performance. This is actually written by, I'm going to butcher the last name, Scott Neustadter, I believe is how you say the last name. He wrote 500 Days of Summer. He wrote The Disaster Artist. He took the book and developed the screenplay of The Disaster Artist this year. He also did Fault in Our Stars, which I know a lot of people have seen. I have not seen that. And
I read the book.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing from a lot of people. I heard the book was pretty good. And he also wrote Paper Towns, which came out 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, another John Green book that he turned into a movie.
500 Days of Summer is a very, very good movie. It was one of. I'm a big Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan. I also like Zooey Deschanel. That's another it's like a gut-wrenching movie. It's sad. It's funny. But Spectacular Now, it's really good. Miles Teller crushes it in this movie. Shailene Woodley's not bad, but really Miles Teller like steals the movie.
Yeah, this is one of the first movies when it came out that people were like, oh, Miles Teller. I really like that guy.
Yeah, he was randomly I don't know. He was in Project X, and he has like a weird role in Project X. And then I remember seeing him in this movie, and I remember this movie came out like a year after I graduated from high school. And it's very realistic. He's a kid in high school that just parties and drinks all the time. He ends up meeting Shailene Woodley. This isn't much of a spoiler because you see it in the trailers. He crashes his car and passes out on her front lawn, and she finds him in the morning.
Classic boy meets girl, you know?
Yeah. If I only could describe the way me and Rachel met, it's pretty much the same.
Exactly the same.
And it really goes through him trying to adjust to life after high school. He has some daddy issues, which are very realistic and really kind of pack a punch when it gets to the part about his dad, who was played by Kyle Chandler.
Right.
It's a very, very good movie. It has a 7.1 on IMDb. I'd probably give this like a 7.8. I think it's a very, very good movie. It's short too. It's like an hour and a half. It's not something that you'll doze off with.
Right.
So that is my 5B.
All right. So my number 4, the 2010 movie version of The Crazies, a remake of the 1973 horror movie.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed big zombie movie fan. This one is like zombie adjacent, where it's about the inhabitants of a small Iowa town suddenly plagued by insanity and then death after a mysterious toxin contaminates their water supplies. So, it's a small town, they're quarantined off, the people are losing their minds, murdering each other, and then dying themselves. It's super intense, it's really gritty because it's, it has that old school film grain feel. Yep. I think it's pretty realistic, and I just thought it was a really enjoyable zombie movie that no one ever talks about.
So, who stars in this?
The lead is Timothy Olyphant.
Yes, I do remember this movie. I actually saw this movie in the movie theater. I was actually thinking of a different movie when you first brought this up. This movie is a very good movie.
It's intense, right?
It is intense. The ending is pretty intense too when they're racing away in a truck.
Yep.
This is a very good movie. I like Timothy Olyphant a lot too.
Yeah, man, he's great.
This is a good call. This is an underrated horror movie. This did fly under the radar.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a bad movie at all. What did you say the rating was?
It's only a 6.5 on IMDb.
Yeah, this movie's probably definitely like a 7.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's a horror movie. I feel like horror movies are graded on a different scale. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, this is very fair. That's a good pick. Yeah, that is a good movie. I do recommend that, especially like a nice little night if you're shacked up with your girlfriend or boyfriend. Just throw this on if you're looking for a little scare. It's intense. It has horror at the right times. It's not cheesy at any point.
And I wanted to include at least one horror movie because I'm a huge fan of the genre.
Yeah.
Shout out! I just watched The Ritual on Netflix last night. Watched a few movies yesterday. Very good night for movies. It's pretty average, but the last 30 minutes are pretty crazy, and the monster in that movie is probably the most unique monster I've ever seen in a film. So check it out for just that. It's only an hour and a half long. So
and it's on Netflix.
And it's on Netflix.
So very good. Brian, my number 4 is a 2010 movie called The Way Back.
All right, tell us about that.
It doesn't seem like a lot of people have seen this. Siberian Gulag escapees travel 4,000 miles by foot to freedom in India. This is actually based on a true story. This is starring Colin Farrell, Ed Harris, Saoirse Ronan, Saoirse, Mark Strong, and Jim Sturgis. Basically, they're in a gulag in Siberia during World War II, and a gulag is pretty much like a prison in the middle of fucking nowhere in the Siberian wilderness in the freezing cold. And they escape, and they eventually pick up 2 other people outside the prison, and they're trying to basically get the fuck out of Russia, trying to get the hell out of there, and they're trying to get down basically where the war is not going to be, where the people aren't going to find them. They literally travel from Siberia trying to get to India, which at the time, I don't remember the exact political situations, but India was a safe place for them to get away from the Russians and to get away from pretty much World War II. This is a very good movie. It only has 96,000 reviews on IMDb, which is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It has a 7.3. I'd honestly probably give this maybe like a 7.8. I'm really like kind of freeballing that ratings, but this is a very underrated movie. I randomly stumbled across it one day on Netflix like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Sturgis, who you would know from that what's the name of that Beatles movie?
I know what you're talking about.
Across the universe.
Yep.
He's also
Tyler Johnson.
He's also in 21. He is kind of like the main character. Saoirse Ronan, who's our girl from
Lady Bird.
She comes into the story a little bit later. It's very good. It's very well acted. It's not too long. It's 2 hours 10 minutes. It's a really interesting topic that I never heard of before. I guess there's a lot of debate on how this actually went down, because the guy that Jim Sturgis plays, it's not much of a spoiler. He at least makes it to India. I won't say the other people that make it to India, but he eventually makes it to India, and that's how this whole story came to be.
Right.
He ended up writing a book, and then this movie came out. But I guess with the book, there was a lot of debate of how he actually did this. 4,000 miles walking is like what's this is from coast to coast in America, isn't it like 2,000 miles?
Yeah, something around that. 2, 3, something like that.
Yeah. So walking on 4,000 miles is pretty fucking insane. But this is a very good movie. I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix or not. Like I said, Colin Farrell, Ed Harris, two very, very well-known actors. Saoirse Ronan, who is now turning into one of the best actresses on the planet. She's nominated like every year, pretty much. And Jim Sturgis. It's very, very good. Definitely check it out, especially for like people interested in World War II. It's a World War II story you've really never heard before. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting, when we have had a shitload of World War II movies, this is a nice little like change of pace, be in time, but have a different story. So The Way Back, 2010 is my number 4 pick.
Nice. All right. So my number 3 pick is the 2005 film Brick, directed by Ryan Johnson, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lucas Haas, and Emily DeRaven from Lost. I really love this movie. It's hard for me because I felt like maybe it's just people who are like more into films. Everyone's seen it, and I've seen it so many times and shown so many people that I'm like, oh yeah, everyone knows about this movie. But it only has 91,000 reviews on IMDb for 7.4 rating. It is a film noir set in a high school. A teenage loner pushes his way into the underworld of a high school crime ring to investigate the disappearance of his ex-girlfriend. I love it. It put Joseph Gordon-Levitt on the map as a serious actor after Third Rock from the Sun, and Ryan Johnson as a director. And then it, for the better or worse, I suppose.
So this was Ryan. Was this Ryan Johnson's first movie, first feature-length movie?
First feature, I believe. Let me pull up his IMDb.
I have a very up and down relationship with Ryan Johnson, obviously. Looper was the one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. That's a very, very good movie. I made it be known of how I feel about The Last Jedi. Ryan Johnson, it was probably direct between Looper and Last Jedi, because that was a pretty big gap. So we don't have a whole lot of 2017. Ryan Johnson. Yeah, that was a long time.
It is. He's done some TV stuff, a few episodes of Breaking Bad that were very good. Yeah. That's where I first really heard of Ryan Johnson was Breaking Bad, and then I kind of remember that he did Looper as well. But Breaking Bad, I think, was where I first really started to hear of him. But I haven't seen Brick yet, but I have heard very good things about it. You should check out Brick.
Yes. That's kind of my hope with these lists, is that people listening, and also you and I, are going to get out and start watching things that we wouldn't normally watch. Because I feel, especially with a lot of people in our generation, they're kind of sticking to things, since we have so many superhero movies and so many movies like of that comic book type movie, where people aren't really going out and seeing other, I wouldn't say less known movies, maybe some independent movies, some movies that really didn't get a whole lot of limelight. I don't think the Oscars hold a lot of weight with people our age anymore. Right. People in their 20s. So I mean, hopefully people listening to this, all like 15 of you, will eventually start watching these movies that maybe you haven't given a chance before.
Yeah, no, even talking about this, there's a certain movie that might not be on your list. I don't know your final list, that I would have never watched. It was a movie that I always was like, I'll get around to it, but then you mentioning it, I was like, oh, if Dylan likes it, better check it out, and it was awesome.
So my number 3 is 2005's Munich, directed by Steven Spielberg. Little director, in case you guys have never heard of him.
Yeah, maybe you have. I don't know.
Starring Eric Bana, Daniel Craig, Ciarán Hinds, who actually played Mance Rayder in Game of Thrones, and he's been in a few other things. He's a face and a voice you'll recognize.
Yes, I believe he was Julius Caesar in Rome.
Yep.
On HBO.
He is also this also features Jeffrey Rush, who you know from Pirates of the Caribbean and things like that. The story is this is all a true story as well. After Black September's assassination of Israeli athletes at the Munich Olympics in 1972, Prime Minister Golda Meir okays a black box operation to hunt down and kill all involved. All team of 5 gather, who features Eric Bana and Daniel Craig and all that, gather in Switzerland, led by Anver, a low-level Mossad techie whose father was a blah, blah, blah. This thing I'm reading pretty a lot. This thing I'm reading is too long. Anyway, so basically, after the Israeli athletes were assassinated by the Black September terrorist group at the Munich Olympics in 1972, they basically hired these assassins to track down and just fucking kill everybody that was involved with this. 100% true, 100% a badass story. Because, the Jews have been treated rather not well in history. So finally for them to get some revenge was nice. 100% true. Steven Spielberg, who, if you haven't seen the Steven Spielberg documentary on HBO, I really, really, really recommend that. He goes into talking about this, how Steven Spielberg kind of at one point in his life had a crisis of faith with his Judaism. And this movie, it was really important to him to tell this story because this was Jews being killed at the Olympics. You would assume the Olympics would be one of the safer places. And these people are killed in a pretty bad public way. Yeah. And this country hired these assassins to track down and kill these people because nobody else is going to do anything. They were going to start an all-out war. It's a badass movie. It's Spielberg, so it's well directed. Eric Bana does very good. Daniel Craig, those are two of some of the best, not even only action stars, but they're just very, very good actors as well.
Yeah, this must have been before he was Bond, yeah?
Yeah, 2005. Awesome. This is probably like a year or two right before.
Young Daniel Craig.
Yeah. It's very, very good. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Kind of long, but it goes by quick. And they're basically tracking down and killing these people one by one. And like I said, it's 100% true, and it's kind of crazy to watch. Right. And there's a specific scene that drags on in a good way, where you're basically on the edge of your seat, like kind of want to throw up from how nervous you are, kind of drags on. Gotcha. That's the scene, honestly, why I probably put this in here, because that scene is one of the more gut-wrenching scenes I've watched in a movie. And eventually, it's very spoilery, so I can't tell you anything. But eventually, when you watch it, you'll know what's going on. But this is a very good movie. A lot of people I know have not seen this. There's only 190,000 reviews on IMDb. It has a 7.6. This movie, honestly, is like an 8.5 to me. This is a very, very good movie. I'll see anything with Spielberg because he's arguably one of the best directors ever. And this people would need to see this movie because, like I said, it's historical. It tells a true story, and it finally tells a story of Jews being able to get a little revenge for themselves for once. So, 2005's Munich.
Awesome. So my number 2 is from 2016, The Nice Guys, starring Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, and directed by Shane Black.
This is a good pick.
This is such a good movie.
Hilarious. Ryan Gosling is fucking hilarious in this movie.
Yes, he's so good, so against type, and just amazing.
This is this is a good pick. I actually watched this probably about 6 months ago for the first time. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling together do make a good team. The daughter that Ryan Gosling's daughter as well is very good in this movie.
Yes, Angourie Rice is her
name. She's only like 13, but she actually does very, very good in this. She's funny. Yeah. She's also in Spider-Man: Homecoming. She plays I forget who she plays in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but it's somebody that like Spider-Man ends up dating down the road.
Gotcha.
She's a very good actor. Ryan Gosling, though, very, very funny in this movie. He does a good job of being funny as well.
Yeah, so the plot is in 1970s Los Angeles, a mismatched pair of private investigators investigate a missing girl and the mysterious death of a porn star. So, if that description doesn't make you want to see it, just like, come on.
So there's a few other people in this movie, though, because it's Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe. Who are some of the other people that are in it?
All right, so Matt Bomer plays Johnny Boy.
Yeah, from Blue Collar.
Yes. Margaret Qualley Who is that? The girl from The Leftovers? Let me pull her up. Yes, she is in The Leftovers.
Yep.
The first 2 seasons, anyways. She plays
Yep.
Jill. Very good in that show. I wish she was in the third season.
If we ever do top 5 underappreciated shows, I can safely say The Leftovers.
That is the number one most underappreciated show in the history of TV.
But we'll say
it's
that
absolutely ridiculous how good that. Keith David, Yaya DaCosta.
All right, you're now naming names.
Naming people we don't know. But yes, it's a good movie. Really, really fun time.
It is. It's a fun movie, yeah. And that's really what you want watching a movie. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
And it's Shane Black. I mean,
yeah.
Come on. Shane Black's awesome.
Yeah.
Some quick writer of The Predator. Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, Lethal Weapon, Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Lethal Weapon 4. He's just awesome. So, he's also writing the new Predator movie.
So this movie isn't in my top 5, but you just said it. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang does get an honorable mention, which is a very good movie as well.
Right.
So my number 2, and this was very, very tough because I almost made this my number 1. I honestly changed my list around like 5 different times before we jumped on Skype. My number 2 is a 2004 movie directed by Wes Anderson called The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Any of his movies amazing, but this one very, very, very good.
It only has a 7.3 in IMDb, 155,000 ratings. The tough thing about Wes Anderson is that you have to be a Wes Anderson fan to appreciate his movies, if that makes any sense. You have to like a specific type of comedy to appreciate his movies.
Right.
All his movies take place in like this quirky like it's a real world, but it's like a fictional world.
Right, yeah, it's like adjacent to reality.
I don't know how to describe it. Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is one of my all-time favorite movies. Stars Bill Murray, who's one of my all-time favorite actors, Owen Wilson, Cate Blanchett, Angelica Houston, William Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, you have fucking Jeff Goldblum in this.
Yeah, I mean, this is his cast, basically. Like, the people who are in almost all of his movies are
the
in this movie.
The Wes Anderson movies, especially Bill Murray and Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he's added, like, Ed Norton lately, and, oh, crap, what's his name? Jason Schwartzman. He's been in a lot lately, but yeah, these are, like, the key players that he always casts.
So the description is, with a plan to exact revenge on a mythical shark that killed his partner, oceanographer Steve Zissou, who is played by Bill Murray, rallies a crew that includes his estranged wife, a journalist, and a man who may or may not be his son. So just to right off the bat, with a plan to exact revenge on a mythical shark.
It's just the most Wes Anderson synopsis of all time.
It's such a good movie. It's funny. It's like a dry kind of dark humor, but that's really all the Wes Anderson movies. You have to get the comedy, and like I really think if you give this a chance, especially maybe if you smoked a little smoke or even had a little drink and you do, this movie is so funny. It's so good. Even like the action, when it gets actiony at one point, it's like hilarious action, but it's still like pretty decent action.
Right.
Just to see Bill Murray like shooting a gun with like one arm, like running up and down a boat, it's just hilarious. It's just so good. I'm a huge fan of Wes Anderson, so I see anything he does. I can't wait to see Island of Dogs, which is his next what's that called? Stop motion animation coming out. Obviously has a lot of the normal features, people in it. Bill Murray's in it as well. Life Aquatic is hands down my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I don't know if it's necessarily his best, but Life Aquatic was hands down my favorite. It's hilarious. It's only 2 hours long. Owen Wilson's in it too. The only reason I say Owen Wilson is Owen Wilson is hilarious to me. Wedding Crashers is one of my all-time favorite comedies.
Yeah, and I mean, Owen Wilson, especially when he works with Wes Anderson, is always tremendous.
And Owen Wilson just does a really good job getting into like just a weird character, because I think he's a weird guy. My favorite character in this though is William Dafoe, who plays Klaus. Or Cloud the German,
right?
And when he's describing him, he literally just goes 40 engineer, calm, collected German, and just the way he says it in a way it cuts over to Klaus is just hilarious,
right?
But definitely check this movie out. That's my number 2, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, 2004.
Awesome. So my number 1 underrated movie is also my favorite movie, Winter's Bone, starring Jennifer Lawrence, John Hawkes, and Garrett Dillahunt.
Is this the one? Is this the number one you were talking about that you weren't sure if I was going to have on or not?
I thought maybe you'd have the Nice Guys as well, because I was like, oh, this is a movie Dylan would like too.
I did like the Nice Guys a lot, but Winter's Bone, surprisingly, I have not seen.
Oh, all right. Well, you got to see it because this is really good.
I know. I haven't seen this yet. I heard it's very good. This was kind of Jennifer Lawrence's like big coming out party as well,
yes,
correct?
Yes, she won an Oscar for it.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to read the description. An unflinching Ozark mountain girl hacks through dangerous social terrain as she hunts down her drug-dealing father while trying to keep her family intact.
That just has like Oscar written all over it.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty Oscar baity, but it is really good. Watch Winter's Bone. It's only an hour, 40 minutes long, but it's intense. It's gritty, and I think it's interesting to like address like kind of a side of poverty that isn't shown quite often. Yeah. People living in like terrible conditions in like mountainous areas of the United States. And yeah, super good. My favorite movie. What is your number one?
So my number one is a 2014 movie directed by Christopher Nolan. It has a 8.6 on IMDb for 1 million ratings. A little movie called Interstellar. So it's very, very high. It has very good ratings. It's been rated by a lot of people. So for me to explain why this is underappreciated is that this is probably a top 5 movie for me all time. I fucking love this movie. I think it's so good. I think McConaughey does really good in it. Starring Matthew McConaughey, Jessica Chastain, John Lithgow, Timothy Chalamet, who we talked about for the Oscars, Casey Affleck, Wes Bentley, Ellen Burstyn. There's a lot of people in this. Also Michael Caine. I can't forget Michael Caine.
Always Michael Caine in every Nolan movie.
I'm assuming a lot of people have seen this, but basically the summary of it is a team of explorers travel through a wormhole in space in an attempt to ensure humanity's survival. Really, this movie is about a relationship between a father and a daughter, which a lot of the arguments I've had with this movie is that you didn't really feel emotionally connected to the characters, which I strongly disagree. I was really like floored and blown away by this movie the first time I saw it. I saw this in IMAX. This is a perfect movie for IMAX.
Yes.
It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's long. A lot of the arguments I've heard against this movie is that it's slow. They don't really understand the twist at the end, which I don't want to go into because I said.
You don't want to spoil it. You want people to watch it, right?
But I've had a lot of people like in my family and a lot of people I've talked to that have seen this movie basically say they don't like this movie because it's long, it's dragged out, and they just don't like the direction it goes in. I strongly disagree. I think this is a really, really well thought out movie. I think Christopher Nolan and his brother Jonathan Nolan wrote this beautifully. It's a beautiful cinematic movie. Like this should have been like the ultimate Oscar type movie. I don't even know if this was nominated for best film. I really don't think it was. I think the only Oscar it won was understandably best special effects, best visual effects. But it has like I said, it has an 8.6. But this is like this definition of underappreciated to me. And I think that Christopher Nolan is honestly probably one of the most underappreciated directors because with things like Dunkirk and Interstellar, what's the one he did with the
Inception?
Not Inception. The photo. Memento. Memento.
I almost put that on my list, but
I almost did as well. It's in the honorable mentions. He just tells a really, really gritty, realistic story, and it's as realistic as you can get into the future. Basically, Earth is dying. They're running out of resources, and so Matthew McConaughey, who used to work for NASA prior, eventually has to go out into space and is going to be gone for a really long fucking time to try to find a habitable planet for everyone else to go to. And it cuts in between time with his daughter when she's young, his daughter when she's older. Basically, Matthew McConaughey's gone for a long time. And he doesn't realize how long he's going to be gone because certain things happen where if something doesn't go right, you're knocking like 7 years off of your time back on Earth.
Yeah.
Because that's science. That's naturally how time works.
Yeah, I think this is the only space movie that has really ever dealt with relativity, which I appreciated.
I appreciate this movie, especially because it's as scientifically accurate as you can be when talking about things that we don't fully understand.
Right.
But you know who I also forgot is in this movie too is Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway,
she's great.
She's great and everything, but she's great in this as well. But McConaughey really stole it for me. But like I said, the end story of this movie is that this is the story about a relationship between a father and a daughter. And you have to fully watch it to understand. If you haven't watched this, I really recommend you watch. This is a perfect like sit down to just really dive deep into a movie. This is it. The music, obviously Hans Zimmer. How can you expect anything less? The music in this is great. The visuals, the acting, everything is just so good. And the fact that some people like disagree with that, like you're entitled to your opinion, but you're just wrong.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion. It's fine.
So this is the definition of underappreciated movies for me. Like this movie is just so fucking good. That's an 8.6, and that's after 1 million people rating that an 8.6.
Yeah,
it's 30th on IMDb's top rated movies. So this movie is not underrated. This movie is actually probably properly rated. But I think it's pivotal underappreciated movies with people, especially people our age. Like people in like their between like their teens up to maybe like 30s who are probably the more people going to the actual movie theaters to see movies. They're really going to see the superhero movies, which don't get me wrong, I love things like Avengers and Batman and all that. But movies like this is pure storytelling by Christopher Nolan. And I think Christopher Nolan is one of the best storytellers out there now.
And I think it's funny you say, because like I think the superhero movie industry owes a ton to Christopher Nolan, because he was really the first person to make the general public take superhero movies seriously. With his Dark Knight trilogy.
Like the Dark Knight, it's a superhero movie, but it's honestly, I think it's honestly probably the best movie ever made. And I will let people debate me on that because people say shit like The Godfather and all that. But I think the Dark Knight is just the most complete movie. I've seen the Dark Knight honestly probably about 20 times in its entirety. And like even a month ago, I went to go see it when it dropped on one day release in the movie theaters. That's a really good movie. And like I said, his storytelling is just so good. Taking something that may even like seem unrealistic and making it realistic, where you have a fucking guy in a back suit running around a city, but you really feel the realism of that. And the same thing with Interstellar. You have somebody jumping from planets, going through a black hole, going to other planets, and at the same time dealing with the fact that he may never see his 2 children ever again. And when he gets back, he's going to be the same age as his daughter.
Right. Is Casey Affleck in this movie too?
He plays the older version of the son. So him and Jessica Chastain and Casey Affleck are the adult versions of the kids.
Right.
Timothy's
great in this too. Just everyone's great. I mean, this movie's just awesome.
And kind of like what I said with Spectacular Now, where we had a father-son relationship, which really like kind of kicks you in the balls. This one is a father and daughter relationship, which really like it grabs your heart. And it's debated that some people say the emotion in this. I guess the biggest complaint against Christopher Nolan, not by me, is that he doesn't understand the emotion of people. I also think that's done by like snobby fucking movie reviewers. I think that the emotion in this, like I said, it's a story about even like it's not about him and his son. It's about him and his daughter. The connection is between him and his daughter, because his daughter is incredibly smart, and she's key to the movie arguably than he is. But the movie focuses on Matthew McConaughey, especially like the gut-wrenching scene. It's been turned into a meme a lot of him crying watching the TV, finally back from the planet, and he sees the video recordings of his kids. And there's a quick spoiler. He sees the video recordings of his kids, and as the video recordings go on, his daughter's a child, and then it gets to her where she's now an adult. So he realizes was he doing the right thing basically by doing all this? The emotion's perfect. I just think a lot more people should appreciate this movie for the fucking masterpiece it is, because I think this is number 2 for Christopher Nolan, behind The Dark Knight for his best movies. I'm a big Inception fan as well, but I definitely think this is number 2 behind Dark Knight. And I think definitely hands down the most underappreciated movie out there right now.
I agree. I remember seeing it in theaters and just thinking like, wow, people can still be original in movies.
Yes, 100%.
Like, this is amazing.
He basically took like a science book and took the relativity, like the scientific facts from that movie, mainly around relativity, and made a whole entire movie about it and turned it into, like I said, a father-daughter relationship movie. Like, it's just it's especially now that I have a daughter of my own, it's a lot tougher to watch. Like just the fact that you realize that you're leaving Earth to save Earth, and you're leaving your family, and you may be coming back where even your daughter could potentially be older than you.
And there's a cameo in this that is better if you don't know 100%. Who the cameo is, because I didn't know. I knew there was a cameo, but I didn't know who it was.
I almost didn't believe it was him at first. It was a very, very well kept secret. But when he pops up about halfway through the movie, I almost didn't believe that was him.
Right, because there's no fanfare, there's no marketing.
So that was a great little twist. The little twist, I would say the main twist comes more towards the end, but the twist with that guy is definitely I didn't see it coming, so that was refreshing too. But I think the biggest connector for this movie, the music, the score is fucking flawless. It is so good. Hans Zimmer is just unbelievable with everything he does. Obviously, you had The Dark Knight, you had Dunkirk. I think he does just everything Christopher Nolan does anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, Interstellar, man. If you haven't watched it, check it out. And if you hate it, you're wrong.
And also, fun fact, there is an AI in this movie, and the kind of way the AI works really inspired a lot of how Jonathan Nolan wrote the AI in Westworld.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, with like the different personality traits and like giving them a ranking, you know.
Yep. Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah, so check out Westworld because it's amazing. It's coming back soon.
Gotta get caught up on it.
Dylan, you really do. I feel like we say this every podcast, but you really need to watch Westworld.
I will. I promise I will.
Oh, man. All right. Anything else you want to add before we hop off?
So I have some quick honorable mentions, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So my very first honorable mention, which almost became 5C, was a movie that you and I both saw recently called Moon, starring Sam Rockwell.
So good.
Very, very good. A movie I never even heard of until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is on Netflix right now, 2010's Moon. Very, very good. It's actually directed by David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, I believe is his name. Definitely check that out.
He definitely changed his name to not be called David Bowie's son, and yet we all just keep doing it.
Yeah, 100%. In Bruges, who's directed by Martin McDonagh, who also did 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which was big this year. The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson, which I feel is a very underappreciated movie. And Heath Ledger, yeah, rest in peace. Drinking Buddies, starring Jake Johnson and Olivia. What's her name? Olivia, the one that's married to Jason Sudeikis. Olivia Wilde, yep. That's another very good movie.
Sorry, I haven't seen it, so I was like, I want to say Wilde, but it might be wrong.
It's okay. It's on Netflix. Definitely check it out. It's a nice little, like, it's almost like an independent comedy type of movie. It's very good. Funny People with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
I feel that's I feel like that might be more underrated than anything, but it's a very good movie that I've checked out a few times. Big Fish, which I had to remove from my list last minute. Big Fish is very, very good. And my final one is 10 Things I Hate About You from the 90s, also starring Heath Ledger.
Right.
And
that's the one that's based on Taming of Shrew?
Yes.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I believe, also.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger.
Yeah, just really good.
There's a few other 90s people you recognize in the movie. Which it also produced one of my favorite memes of Heath Ledger and Joseph Gordon-Levitt next to each other in the cafeteria, and it was like when you realize that you go to when Robin goes to school with the Joker, and it's just Levitt and Heath Ledger like looking at each other in like a shocking way.
That's funny.
So
I like it.
This is another one. Yeah, this is another fun one to research. I think that honestly, the tough thing about lists like this though is they're almost ever changing because you'll find a new movie that you might think will be more underappreciated. But I've been sold on Interstellar being the most underappreciated movie out there right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, these are the top 5 underappreciated movies according to us at this very moment in time.
Yes.
It could change tomorrow. If we recorded this tomorrow, it might have been different.
But our thoughts are law, though. So if you disagree with us, then you're wrong.
Of course.
So, all right, buddy. It's been fun, man.
Absolutely.
We will make sure you check out Wicked Good Everything on YouTube.
Oh, yes.
And make sure you subscribe and rate to us on iTunes. This has been Brian and Dylan Take on the World, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Good night.
Guys, love you. Adios.